Welcome back, folks, and I hope you are ready for the double feature of Took the Kids as they are going to face off twice. First, right now with One Shot, later on with Nocturnes, but we'll start talking about that One Shot game right now. Tanner, One Shot, they like rent free yesterday, dropped their first matchup of the stage.
Yeah, I mean, One Shot definitely didn't have the performance they were looking for yesterday. They came in and they just looked like they were a little bit lost. And it wasn't that they, well, I don't want to take too much credit away from them. Like, Aqualix played one heck of a game. They were attacking their drones, they're forcing them to stall for time, they were giving them unpredictable picks. And it just felt like with no information, One Shot were just getting shot in the back or shot in these awkward positions. And their whole game plan kind of went out the the wrong way. But that being said, this is still an absolute stellar roster. Every game they had, with the exception of that one best of one versus Oculus, they have looked absolutely dominant. They've got good information, good trade game. All their games aren't close. They're just the team that's been performing. And specifically today, my highlight player is Swalen, who's been that guy who's enabling them on the back end. She's making some big clutches on the defensive half, and they've been a really solid roster.
Mhm. Now, TTK, solid as well. We can't deny what they've achieved. They're 3-2. But those are 3 regulation wins and 2 overtime losses. They've collected points in every game, Connor.
Yeah, and they're being insanely consistent, which is overall in this format probably the best thing you can possibly be, considering best of ones, they're kind of bred upon inconsistency. And overall, with the way that they're playing, it's been flying under the radar of a lot of teams. Took the Kids are a serious contender. If they kind of come out against Nocturnes and One Shot today, they can all of a sudden leap all the way up and be really knocking on the door of being in first place. And overall, this is a team that has those sort of, inhibitions. They really want to go for that kind of stuff. Because you have Mr. B, he's a natural born leader. He's arguably one of the best IGLs as he's kind of started to mature here inside of Challenger League. And he's really helping to facilitate these new fraggers of woos off of Outlast coming to his team, as well as Gavini. We just say Gavini over and over again, but they're the LMG brothers and they look good.
Okay, so going back to One Shot, what do you think were maybe some of the issues that they faced yesterday that they'll be looking to correct today?
So specifically, the big one I want to highlight is their speed and their tempo. It felt like they weren't really fighting. Like, they were fighting for their information, but they weren't doing a good job of doing things like trading your drones. So yeah, you're losing a drone, but what's the so what of it? What are we doing to kind of compensate for that? And normally the answer is we just trade. You want to take our drone, we'll take your body, and then we'll be good to go. And they weren't really doing that. So big thing I want them to do is kind of speed up, so that they're not like stalling out into the late rounds. And then the second one I want to utilize from them is like, TTK is a team with a very small map pool. They're very predictable in what maps they like to go to. And One Shot's a team that has a very dominant map pool, and they have many maps that they're really good. I'm thinking Bank. I'm thinking Chalet. I'm thinking, well, Bank and Chalet for now. And Cafe. Cafe was the one that I couldn't think of there for a sec. So these
Huge
maps,
map pool.
big,
All two of
like,
them.
all these maps, they've looked real, like, not just like good on, they look dominant on.
Yeah.
Like, no one else is able to compete. So I'm looking for them to take them to one of these maps. And they're going to need to, because TTK is a team that is super hungry right now.
Yes.
Like, if they win this game with how Ariel just lost, they're going to be in the playoff top 4 that we're talking about. And I'm just going to transition right to Connor. Connor, what do you think about that?
I think that Took the Kids, they have that capability if they're able to, just take what was given to them, which was a massively put into absolute motion, wonderful report from Aqualix of, hey, this is steps A, B, C, D, and E on how to dismantle One Shot, because all it is get in their face and completely shut down their attacks. For One Shot's sake, hopefully they should adjust and be a little bit more ready, but Took the Kids are kind of underrated in their gunning aspect. They can probably keep up with a team like Aqualix and put just as much pressure into the side of One Shot, as well as if the slight adjustments for Took the Kids, kind of the only flaws that you can see in their system is sometimes they get a little bit ahead of themselves. And with Woos and Gavini, they start getting those frags, then they kind of keep going. And it's going to be up to somebody like Mr. B to be like, hey, let's take a breath. Let's just relax. Let's regroup. Let's take that man advantage. Hey, we can drone out a little bit more, and they're going to look amazing.
Well, Tanner, I hope for these teams' sake that they did the map ban before you gave away the farm on the intel.
Well, I mean, the map bans here, like I said, there's a very, there seems to be 5 maps that TTK like to play: Bank, Cafe, Theme, Oregon, and Villa. And the only 2 that kind of line up with One Shot is Bank and Cafe currently. Last stage, we saw them go to Clubhouse, which is interesting to see TTK permabanning that map this stage. So pulling up some of these maps here, Bank being banned, that's one of One Shot's best maps. Cafe being banned, another one of One Shot's best maps, and it just leaves Chalet. So like there you go. One Shot did a good job here of controlling the map bans, hitting all the target bans of the maps they don't want to go on, the Oregons, the borders, and to make sure that they're going to a map that they feel really dominant on. And just a little thing about Chalet, about One Shot. I know I'm talking about it, but since stage 3, they've only lost it once, which was in the playoffs, I believe, against Investigation File. And they've played it 5 or 6 times, and they, like I said, they look really good on it every single time. It's one of those maps everyone in stage 1 banned against them for that exact reason. Let's see if they can repeat today.
Well, as we throw the predictions up, Connor, what a massive advantage it must be when you have a map pool that all you have to worry about is getting rid of a couple maps you just don't want to go to because you're just happy going anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing, it's kind of taking away the Oregon permaban from the side of One Shot, kind of allowed them to just bully the map ban into their favor. And that's probably one of the biggest reasons why all of us, nobody's already switched preemptively of seeing like, oh, we're actually going to an Oregon, or we're going to somewhere that we don't really know a whole lot about One Shot. We're going right into their territory that, sure, we haven't seen this iteration of One Shot really play a whole lot of Chalet, but they should be able to. The overall underlying philosophies for this map that we've seen out of Kilo, as well as even iterations of prod rosters on this map, have looked good, and they should translate well.
Well, here's the thing. Are either of you two interested in switching at this point? Because we have that across the board.
You know what? I'll switch because my numbers are bad and I need to pick it back up. So I'm going to switch over.
I want
to
stay in first. So I'm going to stay with One Shot.
I like One Shot, right? But this is a map that TTK have never shown. And Mr. B is a very intelligent player. He's got a lot of deep understanding of the game. He brings some intricate stats to the game. And he's very good at adapting and analyzing his opponents. I think with the Gunners and how they're shooting right now on TTK, like they're just going up and up and up every week. With the leadership structure of Mr. B, I think there's a good chance that this is one of those games where we see an upset and Mr. B, kind of goes, you know what? We're here to play. We're here to play. We want that second place spot.
Do you think, Connor, that confidence, obviously we have confidence in One Shot, but I'm not going to switch my vote, but I am kind of believing into what Tanner's saying about, maybe this is something there. One Shot's caught off guard, let's say, with Mr. B and what he brings to the game.
It could be. We've already seen a lot of intricate and fun Azami play just a couple of minutes ago with Hat and Butters on this same map. So maybe Mr. B is going to be whipping out a ruler and some crazy angles overall on how to just have a pixel that looks all the way across the map with an Azami barricade and a couple of deagle shots opening up the walls. But it's going to take a lot of those crazy aspects, I think, for TookTheKids to elevate themselves to One Shot's pedigree on this map. And sure, it is possible, and it honestly wouldn't surprise me that much, but I'm going with the safe bet still.
Well, Chalet is a map so nice, we'll just have to go there twice. We are getting into the first TTK matchup of the day against One Shot.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you, Tanner, because originally, John, I was going to say that I'm feeling good. I got a feeling deep inside, and the B in Mr. B today is going to stand for believe, because I believe in them. And I'm going to switch my vote to TTK. But instead, I'm going to say I agree with Tanner wholeheartedly, and that's why I'm switching my vote. John, how do you feel?
I completely agree, honestly. I'm Mr. Believer too, to be honest. I mean, they played so well together, and although Connor talked about sometimes they struggled a little bit with taking their time in gathering drones, they still did it from time to time against their opponents yesterday. So as long as they just continue to do that more consistently, they should have a really solid time playing on this map, especially because of how well Gavini played the other day. He was doing such a fantastic job on entry. I feel like Chalet is going to be a fantastic map for both One Shot and TTK to do a lot of dirty work on that entry game and also alert game too, which TTK are very strong at as well.
Yeah, Gavin's really been hitting his stride, and Woos, who had a really slow start to the stage, I'm glad also doing better. Packer has always been a consistent force. Trist looks so much more comfortable on the flex roll. Because I remember Trist was like as CJ would say, I'm using a lot of cookie-isms. As CJ would say, Trist was a traffic cone on hard support. I mean, that guy was not putting up numbers. It was kind of sad to see, but he looks so much more comfortable on the flex, and of course, Mr. B. I don't know. I can't think of an equivalent to consistent that starts with B, but that's him. I'm very proud of him. And TTK are going to start us off with a very interesting ban, and if I'm not mistaken, a target ban against Prod.
Suppose so. Zero can be pretty darn effective on Chalet in particular. You can utilize him to burn some actual magnets ADS as well. He has secondary hard breach. He's a very versatile operator on this map, so it makes tons of sense. Thermite ban as well. I think Mr. B assumes that to be a target ban as well. You hate to see it being that. What target bans coming out, they are pretty enjoyable to laugh at. Especially the all chat that follows up with them as well. It's just a funny altercation altogether. But Valkyrie and Mira, those look like pretty normal bans altogether. So far the ban phase looks pretty fun. Not completely stock standard, as Jonah would like to say.
Yeah, I mean, a target ban for target ban. Perfectly balanced, as all things should be. And but Prod is still going to run the line, very comfortable on that. We'll have to see what Mr. B decides to go with on the attack. For now, he'll go Cade, and it'll be dining first and foremost for TookTheKids. So, of course, this site relying a lot on your upstairs roam. TookTheKids do have some fearsome roamers, like you had highlighted. Gavini or I don't know if it's Gavini or Gavini, because people just call him Gavin.
Yeah.
I know, like Joe and JJ just call him Gavin, so I'm just gonna call him Gavin. Gavin is a force to be reckoned with. Woos is getting on a hot streak, because I remember we saw promise out of Woos on Outlast, but it was really up and down. I'm glad he's finding it again here under the unrivaled leadership of Mr. British.
Okay, looking over at One Shot's roster, looks pretty darn normal altogether, especially since you don't have that Thermite available. This is probably one of the better sites for him altogether. He's pretty versatile altogether on this map because it can be very easy to set up that hard breach once you remove those K claws. Just make a gigantic opening in the site, and then you can just begin to hit it as quickly as possible. Really looking forward to seeing how well Razor can do on the Sphinca roll. He found a lot of entries the other day against Oculus on Theme Park, and although those entries did not find a lot of success, that was mostly due to them stalling themselves quite a bit, and with Chalet being a much faster paced map, being a very attacker favored map, maybe those entries could bring a little more use to them against TTK.
Speaking of entries, Woos, right there, up against that library connector where Razor has already jumped in, but Trist has the crossfire with Woos. What a shot! All the way downtown. I think that was a wall bang.
It just
I
might
have to
been.
imagine.
I'm not too sure either, but it's still the entry kill for TTK. Your Finka is immediately gone. Prod was at least trying to watch over near blue stairs, but Woos has already gotten out of dodge. He's utilizing that basement floor as just a complete rotation station, and TTK are going to be able to hold onto that man advantage for just a little while longer, breaking through a couple of drones as well in the process, with Gavin still holding in the middle of sight. And once again, it seems like as of right now, Harrison, One Shot, they are still just kind of stalling and waiting for someone on that defensive side to maybe try to get over aggressive so One Shot could try to find the equalizer, but finally they begin to step in the building once again. What Kilo trying to break some of this utility and opening up a line of sight near this back office wall.
Speaking of aggressive, Gavin right up against the Mav wall. Kilo will not expose himself. He'll just open a little square with which to pop a nade through and likely destroy that Electro Claw. That's probably what they're looking for. Prod roaming in downstairs, searching for a pick. Just holding this angle, ensuring that the defense isn't going to run out at anyone. And remember, while there's a lot of action and a lot of time being spent on the upstairs, that is not where the site is. This is kitchen and dining. So One Shot still have to transition downwards, and they're using a map to open up this wall. They've only got 45 seconds, and the situation just got worse. Gavin's still playing up against the wall, catches Swaylin off guard. Easy headshot on the Hibana. Luckily, that's not the case carrier. That's going to be Kilo's duty. But Mr. B takes the fight against Prod, lands it through the barricade. A 3-man advantage for TTK in our very first round, and Kilo can't get the wall open. He runs out of gas on the torch. He pays for it with his life, and NVK can do nothing against the oncoming tide. TTK, a flawless round to start us off.
And a very slow round to begin with overall for One Shot. We saw Razor lose that immediate gunfight against Trist, who landed a wallbang shot through Piano out of all places, backing up Woos perfectly, allowing him to fall back at just the right time, the way Prod could not score an equalizer. And then One Shot, they just, like I said, they slowed down altogether. They couldn't even get office wall opened up properly to create vertical holes with those explosive lifelines to then break those other Kai claws to actually get that back wall opened up. So really they had no proper entryway, not only into the top floor, but also that site itself. And once they began to try to rotate last second in a 5-on-3 TTK, they still had those prime spots to sit in. They shut down one shot altogether, and because of that, they just took the round flawlessly, starting out pretty good on their defensive side.
One Shot are immediately going to make an adjustment, now attacking Bar. NVK off of Zoe onto Twitch, so you get a little bit more anti-utility with that, with her drone. Go ahead, shoot out jammers and discs and ADSs, which is what they're going to be looking for. The better that Twitch does, the less they have to use on Burn. Kilo as well on Ying. Now, not an operator that we typically see on this site in particular. I'm really curious to see where he goes with that.
And maybe see a potential rush in through big window, I guess. That could be one option.
No, she's
also,
Chinese,
if you
she's
are
not Russian.
okay, we're starting out the broadcast like that. I knew we'd get into some sort of silly things like that, Harrison. And there's a second entry kill for Trist. You don't see that one ever. Normally, he's the one dying to the. Yeah, again. Wow, that is shocking. Razor's not having any of it either. The altercations chat once again being pretty comical, to say the least, but still, a fantastic start for TTK. They are doing a fantastic job of isolating one of that main spearheads for One Shot and already putting it in the dirt, basically dulling that spearhead altogether in this round.
And Razor's been a really good spearhead for One Shot at that, right? He's been a huge part of their early round success, even if it is a little bit slow. Jaeger now coming in. Trist is looking for more. He'll destroy the drone. Drone game not looking as hot as it did last round. Only 6 remaining in the last minute 50 of the round now. And One Shot haven't really gained any ground off of it. There's still frost mats, still shields upstairs. A Maverick trying to, get that cheeky little line in the bar stock wall to kill someone playing there, but I don't think anyone is. Maybe Packer, but I think he's actually just behind the bomb chassis. I mean, you still got a man posted up inside of dining. Yeah, Packer's behind that bomb chassis, so he's not being exposed to that. You still got people upstairs. One Shot for the second round in a row are just kind of stalling.
And because Razor was not able to find any damage, you can still have that extension thrive over near dining room, allowing these magnificent crossfires. And the top floor presence is still there as well for TTK. They score another frag in this round, almost killing Kilo, but he has just enough natural cover at the top of office balcony to survive and start throwing out these Candelas.
Another swing from Gavin right into another Candela, but Mr. B takes the opportunity to swing, catches Kilo throwing it. Mr. B, another 2 kills for the Frost, and Prod alone in coat check, but they know Mr. B, I believe in Mr. British, and he gets 3 kills on the Frost, 2 in a row for TTK.
And at this point already, it seems pretty clear cut. For One Shot, they're not really doing a good job of enabling Razor all that much. Sure, on round 1, they droned him out a little bit, but altogether, they're having him just walk in by himself and just hoping he wins 1-for-1s. And so far, that hasn't happened. He's currently 0-2 on the entry. And TTK, once they're able to remove that entire force on the map, because again, with Razor by himself, that is one portion of the entire map just completely cut off from TTK's eyes. They can focus on something else, and they can begin to establish that solid team play that we saw them bring out yesterday when they were going up against Erla Rise on Villa. And because of that, they are already looking pretty darn unstoppable so far in this first half. But it has only been 2 rounds. There is still plenty of time to change here for One Shot, and now they've got a pretty interesting site to play on, or against, I should say, that being the basement one, with TTK having a pretty anti-smoke composition, at least with that Warden, I should say, Harrison.
I just made 2 flawless rounds in a row.
Yep.
Nobody's died yet. Look at the kills. 4-3-2-1-0. Perfect. How satisfying is that?
Pretty darn nice, I'd have to say. Maybe they can make it 3rd, perhaps.
You know, it is a little bit odd. Prod is Glass, but there's no other smoke coverage. No Osa, no Ying, no Sense. Nothing to help this Glass out. So, I mean, once that Glass runs out of his 2 smokes, which for a whole execute isn't a whole lot. Once he runs out of those 2 smokes, there's not a whole lot he's going to be able to do. Glass in a straight-up 1v1 gunfight is not what you want to be taking.
And even then, you still have to worry about the Warden as well. Thankfully, all the ADS are stacked up over towards the wine side of the map in case there was, a long push from Big Garage and also that, side wall as well on the eastern side. But it seems like One Shot wanting to go direct. They're not going to have to worry about that as of right now. Only the first minute has gone down, and One Shot at the moment, they're not really focusing on that back wall. They want to actually clear out this extension, potentially in case they want to worry about some sort of flank, and potentially that vertical presence as well, as if you go for a plant near that snowmobile wall, you have the potential just to get shot up above if those holes have been made by any roamers still above.
Oh, and Gavin, another entry pick, and Razor. 0-3 in the openings. Truly unfortunate for Razor, but Prod, without even any smoke coverage, is able to get the refrag on Gavin. So it comes 3 rounds in. One Shot have finally gotten a kill. Fortunately for them, there is still roamers aplenty, Hacker and Trist in that middle floor. It's Woos and Mr. B downstairs. They've been doing a brilliant job of denying not only the entry, but the hard breach from One Shot as well. The C4 from Mr. B, taking the Maverick off the wall until now. Impact from the Vigil, making sure that the Hibana wasn't going to breach and allowing him to get that kill on Razor after the Fink was pretty much forced to swing. We do hear more X-Kairos coming out, I believe, on those hatches, as Mr. B has just been covering walls with his Electro Claws. Yeah, it's going to go down on that connector hatch, but 50 seconds left. One Shot haven't even opened the garage wall yet.
Yeah, and because Kilo is that player with the case, if he cannot get this wall opened up in a timely manner, this execute is going to be very flimsy for One Shot altogether. But finally, it gets opened up. Now a new entry has been made for the offense.
Prod, with those 2 smokes still in hand, he'll send one out. This might telegraph the execute, but nothing just yet. And oh, Trist! Use Warden's gadget to perfection. Takes the glass off, but there's Swaylin and NVK with a kill each. They swing the man advantage in their favor, and Packer is stuck in a corner. At the very least, he should go 1 for 1, but no, he doesn't even get a kill. Swaylin drops the hatch to finish him. NVK elsewhere picks off Mr. B, and One Shot get their first point.
Great repositioning as well by One Shot, not just all funneling in through main stairs, for example. They had the time to readjust. They brought somebody down in through blue, and having Swaylin as well, like you mentioned, drop that hatch to make sure no one next to that cabinet and boat position was able to actually swing at a very quick manner and stop anyone from planting, since One Shot were so low on time altogether. But having that glass off the board, that was a small moment where TTK might have been able to capitalize, but again, because they were still down on the man disadvantage, their hands were still pretty much tied in that position, and with One Shot just winning those valuable kills in the last 30 seconds, it was able to seal their fate as a win. It's not going to be 3 quick rounds in a row for TTK. It's going to be just 2-1 as of now.
Yeah, that main stairs coverage really coming in clutch, locking Packer down, getting the refrag on Trist, making sure that One Shot stayed in control. Now, TTK rotate back down to Old Faithful Dining, where they had initially won that first round with a great top floor hold. And One Shot, again, being really, really slow to get these walls open. And they really never got the walls open. They only had a couple small holes in the office wall, and Kilo was trying to open the breach like thermite size and actually ran out of gas in the Mav Torch. So hopefully it's a little more economical when it comes to using it.
Fingers crossed as always, is, yeah, again, especially with One Shot not having the best time management overall, that could really be a huge issue. That was something that actually struggled with all the way in round number 1, was because Kilo couldn't do all that much on hard breach, and neither could the Hibana. They weren't able to make all that many lines of sights or any proper entryways either when things got very dire for them in the few couple moments left in the round altogether. Razor already in the building at a pretty early time, and it seems like the info game is quite strong for them so far. Razor's maybe expecting someone to walk up those blue stairs to maybe work an early entry for his team, but so far at least the pacing of One Shot is definitely sped up at least just a little bit.
Gotta wonder, is Razor going to have early success in this round, or will he die for the 4th time in a row on that entry? Gavin, once again, playing very aggressively on this wall. Wants to keep the pressure on Kilo and on his support by Piano, but Kilo is working a lot quicker. Again, not really fully opening that wall, but it's better than nothing. It's better than leaving the wall completely closed. Actually, never mind. He still has not. There we go. Finally, he'll open it halfway into the round. At this point, Gavin's already kind of given up some of that control, figuring, hey, we've already wasted a pretty decent bit of time. You got Woos, again, all the way down in the basement. And One Shot looking to push all the way through, looking to full clear this top hole.
I mean, with only claymores available, the potential for a flank definitely seems massive, so long as Woos can just pick the perfect moment to strike here with just about a minute to go. Really no one trying to watch that back end position. And now One Shot beginning to work a floor lower. This really could be a golden moment for Woos to strike, still sitting in that basement.
Golden moment for Gavin, too, sitting behind that master bed. There's a lot of angles he's got to cover. Trist is going to have a lot of work set out for him, but oh, right under the hole is Razor. He'll finally get an entry and make it 2. Gavin and Trist, the 2 players who have killed him for the opening picks, will in fact be his first 2 victims in round number 4. Kilo now getting the plant down. Packer doesn't seem aware of it. The C4 from Mr. B will miss. He rushes through the smoke, but Swalen's there to catch him. The off-plant spot working wonders for the attack, and it's flawless for One Shot. 2 dominant rounds in a row to tie the score.
And being able to play as a complete unit on that top floor, burning through every single bit of utility, it allowed Razor to make a lot of space for himself along with the rest of One Shot that were sitting up above, and he just snuck his way right in the bathroom, killing both the players up above. That allowed everyone to focus their eyes back down in the site itself. And the lack of productivity by Woos altogether, it pretty much forced a 5 versus 2, and although those smoke grenades were coming out at the right time, again, it was just too many angles to worry about. One Shot were already beginning to transition their way down on the first floor as Razor just found those 2 kills, so the timing altogether was just far too impeccable for TTK to readjust at any given moment, equalizing us now heading in around 5. Barn Gaming now reattempted by TTK.
They had won this site too. We'll see if One Shot, make those proper adjustments and shut them down here, but he'd have a very good defense. Again, down to a really solid top floor hold that One Shot took way too much time clearing out. They'll bring the Ying again. I still don't really know what that's for. Last time we saw Kilo running it, he was on that office balcony, just chucking them through the window and then died while throwing it. I can't imagine that was the original plan. So, hoping we see something else. But wow, we just entered action phase. One Shot have already lost 4 drones.
Definitely doesn't look all that great on paper for them. Maybe they could salvage some of that weak drone economy with those Gemini replicators, but that would mean Prod has to stay alive a lot of these rounds. Interesting lurk play coming up by Razor on the Finka. You normally see us with a Nook, but I mean, so far, no one acknowledging his presence here in the bottom of blue. The only thing that could maybe give away his position is those barbed wires set up over into the bottom of blue stairs. But if no one's close enough, this could still be a great rush play for Razor, and a drone is feeding him info as well.
TTK doesn't look like they have any idea. And Razor, again, hitting this crouch walk. Could find some success. He did it in the previous round. The camera is not on. No one manning this shield. Someone in Ivy just waiting, and Razor will get that opening pick. Trade attempt coming through, but shots will not land from Gavin. He peeks in. LMG will sing. They trade damage. Someone needs to come help Razor. It's eventually going to be Prod, but Woos and Mr. B chime in. 2 kills for the defense, but still a one-man advantage for One Shot. The chase comes in from Packer, but only succeeds in landing 1 shot in the leg from Swalen. Trying to push back upstairs. He's got the shotgun in hand. It could be an easy kill onto Razor. Caught with a nade out, and there's the equalizer.
And a huge one at that as well. With Razor being able to revive himself up above, he could have been a major challenge to throw out those grenades in through stock, for example, and open up a lot of opportunities for One Shot to try to get in the site and plant that diffuser. But it was even on the ground as well. Finally picked up by One Shot, though. They have to completely go back to the drawing board here in these final 50 seconds, as they are now completely equalizing this 2-on-2.
Hacker's still got a C4 as well, and that is dangerous. Kilo is going to have to be on the money with those Candelas and hopefully blind that mute, maybe deafen him as well, because those Yings still make sound, and distract him enough to try and get that stealth plant going. Curious to see where that plant ends up going down, because I guarantee that there's going to be bear traps under that main window that someone's going to have to shoot out before they go for it. Nade goes through. It looks like those frost mats are probably already dealt with. More nades come through from Swaylin. Candela's as well. The nade lands on Packer, and there's the C4 down. It's just Mr. B in a clutch or die situation. 1 versus 2. Dropping in through the hatches. Kilo, but that's Case. Mr. B just has to rotate upstairs. Swaylin, he's on the hunt, but there's only 3 seconds left. Mr. B clutches the round, and TTK take the lead.
The discipline as well for just running back up above and burning through the last couple of seconds on that round. A huge play for Mr. Biblical, as CJ would say, and that was just the biggest issue there for One Shot. They didn't play enough as a team during that 2 versus 1, and also that lack of information. They had no idea where exactly Mystery was playing at in the bomb site. For all they knew, he could have been a default spot, like, for example, in the middle of stock to try to actually deny that hatch play. Nope, he was just near the bar, rotate. He killed the guy dropping down. Again, that was Case, and all that Mystery had to do in those last couple of seconds was just rotate to make sure he didn't have to take a gunfight altogether. It was really good aggression from the start there by One Shot, but again, because they burned away so much of their own resources, it wasn't really enough in those final few moments when they were trying to go for the execute, Harrison.
And hey, 3 rounds on your Chalet defense, you have effectively won the half. TookTheKids are sitting pretty, and if they can just get 1 more round on dining, they will be looking fantastic heading into the next half. Now, this site, they did lose pretty handedly. Pretty handily to One Shot in their previous attempt. And One Shot are adjusting. They have the Thatcher and the Maverick. I don't really know why they're doing that. I guess maybe because they just want the nades and no other hard breacher has nades, that's a bit understandable. They have the Thatcher and the Maverick and the Hibana. So plenty of utility to actually get these walls open this time, figuring, you know what? We know how to take this site. If we can just do it a little bit faster, it'll be a lot safer.
Definitely could see an Ayana coming in too. That wouldn't have been a horrible option altogether. But, you know, with NVK running those EMPs, you're probably not going to need the extra Gon 6 for all the much util destruction. So, hey, nades, they're nades at the end of the day. So, it is what it is altogether. One Shot, still trying to get hyper active as ever. Razor still gathering tons for his team. A drone will be feeding him info once again. The nade being cooked to kill the player in blue stairs, but Woo's expecting something along those lines. He'll fall back at a good moment. And once again, Prod just a little too slow to help clean up will allow Woo's to hide in Mudroom and maybe have him and Mr. B pull something off together.
Woo's, I was going to say, if Prod keeps watching that, Woo's is a little stuck, but no, he gets out of there. Safe. Mr. B still in games as well. A lot of off-site presence for this defense as Woo's retreats to the basement, and Gavin starts things off with a kill onto Kilo, the Maverick, the primary case carrier, the man who dictates the execute. Not just because of the case carrier, because the primary IGL as well, now dead. You lost your Maverick. It's going to be mostly on this Hibana to open the walls. Luckily, again, they have that Thatcher to work around the Electro Claws, so they have a hole into Office. But again, it's not a full avenue. It's not a complete hole that they can push through. It's just a small angle. The defense can easily fight back against if they so choose. There's only a minute left now, and just now are One Shot opening the main wall.
And we saw a fantastic transition by One Shot last time this site was in play, but that is when they already had full top floor control, still having Tristan Gavini alive, and Mr. B, who has a major whiff. He almost wins it once again, whips out the Magnum. Can he find the kill into Prod?
God.
He is still missing these vital shots. Swaylin finally takes him down, but it's still a main advantage for TTK after that absolute brawl in bar.
I hope there's some way after this round for the Observer to let Mr. B know that we saw all of that, but luckily his death does not go unanswered. Gavin is on top of it. He gets another kill onto NVK. In comes Swaylin, face to face with a shield. Easiest kill in Packer's life. He's got the shotgun out now, staring down Razor as he's on the drone, but hearing the drone, he answers with a gas canister. Razor backs up, takes damage. The sledge from above Prod doesn't have an angle, and the case is forfeited in sight. They have to go for the kills. Gavin with a third. It's just Prod stuck on the hatch, and he knows he doesn't have a single chance. TookTheKids win the half, 4-2.
Well, despite that, I do not know that just dangerous display of athleticism last round by Mr. B. Besides that, that was a pretty good round by TTK. I have to admit, they still had a good job on that entry, and oh god, Alex doing him dirty as well. Yeah, I needed to see this. I hope someone posts on Twitter too. But you know, besides all this happening, TTK played really well. They played well around the case once it got dropped because Swaylin, I guess, didn't think he'd be safe enough to go in and actually try to play for that defuse setup. So he got really aggressive against the shield player and died. And also in general, just still having that roam game alive, you know, hitting multiple angles at once for the defense. It just, once again, it forced one shot in a kill box essentially, and they couldn't do anything at that point. TTK, you talked about when they have those already 3 rounds in their back pocket that they'll look good. They've got 4 now in that first half, and now they can move on the attacking side. This is looking fantastic for them all together.
Yeah, TTK are looking great as we head into the new half, and it's Garage. First up for one shot. We got plenty of roamers. Oh, I just realized. Did TTK not play a zombie that whole half?
Oh yeah, they didn't. I noticed that in like the first 3 rounds and just kind of went out of my mind. But now that Prod's bringing her out, yeah, now it's just been like, oh hey, she exists.
I got completely distracted. I forgot she wasn't banned. So, a zombie will be immediately picked up, but there's a Thatcher being brought by TookTheKids, and Mr. B dies to the drone hole. His punishment for whiffing last round is a rather embarrassing death right there.
Yeah, and now you've got the key barriers to worry about as well. Fully patching up that hole as if it were just a band-aid on a wound, essentially, for one shot. Still have TTK across the map, though. I want to get big garage control. Pretty much just using that snowmobile entryway as just a line of sight altogether. Not so much trying to hit the site from that direction. Maybe a major cutoff, perhaps. So whatever TTK would prefer overall. They have most of their front over on the northern side of this map. MVK maybe taunting out a run out, or at least a hop down through the hatch, pardon. So far, he's not going to go for that. At least it creates a great audio call to maybe have TTK second guessing, especially since they are at a pretty substantial deficit, at least in terms of losing out on Mr. B and losing out on that case still.
At the very least, Mr. B has already opened up Snowmobile Garage, so, you know, it's not like they didn't get anything out of him, but those Kiva barriers are making sure that what he did is being undone. Trist still opening up the red wall will actually down Swaylin. Prod is right there for the pickup, though, so not the biggest deal in the world. The Iana of Woos looking to gather some info as Packer gets the lead-off frag for his team. Make it a second. Prod finally refrags, but there's Trist once again covering, finishing off Swaylin. Gavin moves in through the site through Mr. B's breach, and it's all up to Kilo. 1 versus 3. Case not collected. They got to run upstairs and grab it. Luckily, there's still a whole minute to play with, so not too much of a time crunch. They are afforded the luxury of doing so. And Kilo, this is an extremely hard fight against Gavin around that snowmobile. Trist getting that bomb down. But where's the coverage? He might be exposed, but if he is, Kilo doesn't peek. Either way, Gavin continuing to pre-fire, goes down to Kilo, trying to spray through the wall. Will not hit any shots. Right around the corner, Packer dies. Kilo's putting this clutch together, but no, doesn't look the right way. Trist finishes him off, and TTK take yet another round.
And great job by TTK altogether, stepping it up big there. We saw Packer find 2 very necessary trades, and Gavini, or Gavin as well, whatever you want to call him, he completely rotated across that once he helped the Habana get those wine walls opened up. He played in that spot that, you know, Mr. B was at earlier when he was trying to deploy those Selmas on the snowmobile wall, and had a huge power position. He found a couple of kills, and was also just holding those key cutoff angles that TTK utilized so well to make sure that when it was in that 3 versus 1, TTK were safely able to get that diffuser down. And although things got very close after Kilo landed some amazing shots with an SMG-11, it was still a win because the lack of information and eventually your luck and skill, it just simply runs out when you have so many odds stacked against you.
You got to feel for Kilo. That was just a situation where, I mean, he already got 2 kills, and he just so happened to look the wrong way. And sometimes that's just how rounds end. TookTheKids with a healthy lead. 5-2. They lead by 3 rounds. They lead by a whole site rotation. One shot are going to need to take the next 3 perfectly if they want to tie the game, and yet more to come if they want to win. Mr. B swapping onto the Flores, seeing that, you know what, one shot are defending Bar. There's a lot of shield play that goes on around Bar. Might as well take the Flores. One shot, curiously enough, they're only taking 1 shield.
and hoping they can just keep that shield up as long as possible. To be fair, they're bringing Azami, and she has pretty much just portable shields, I guess. A lot more utility besides just maybe making those one-way sights basically with a shield, but you know, the list can kind of go on. It's not a default shield, quote-unquote, but the lack of mute on this round, it does allow Mr. B to make a lot of quick work on this top floor extension. That blue spot already being weakened quite heavily, and still no one's been aggressively swinging to try to break these Rotero drones, so it almost seemed like a key barrier could have been destroyed, but no, he'll go for Broke, trying to find all those ADSs and a different key barrier, and I believe Broke at least a little bit of that. Now the info game will go out quite swiftly to eventually try to force out one shot altogether from this top floor.
It was really funny. I'm pretty sure that impact just did exactly what that Rotero was meant to do. Anyway, because like you can just still destroy the drones with an explosive, but like the Rotero was there to open up the wall and get the ADS, and he just did exactly that with the impact. So just a bit funny, as Woos has now made his way in library itself, trying to pressure Razor out. More Kiba barriers go through, and Razor just takes the gunfight. Woos gets hit before he even knows what's swinging him, and the first kill goes the way of one shot. Now TookTheKids have to try and put something together. At least top blue shield is down, but it doesn't look like they know if someone's actually playing it. They're still very scared of pushing their way in. Looks like Packer is finally going to vault his way through, but he's getting shot from two different angles. Prod gets credited with the kill. Mr. B finally comes through and gets the man on Chimney, but NVK responds, and it's just Gavin and Mr. B in a 2v4.
Only 1 minute left to go. Mr. B now being downed as well. Gavini effectively in a 1 versus 4. 50 seconds left. He could definitely try to isolate and find a couple of ones. Spotting the leg of a player near our hallway, so a nade will get thrown. Perfectly cooked as well. Kilo will be dropped, but Prod still waiting about near blue will find the final attacker left on that round, and seems like one shot. They're finally collecting themselves a bit more on this defensive side and are slowly trying to close that gap.
I mean, that was just a terrible clear of Chimney. Especially, like, okay, you know Chimney's not clear. You can't imagine that you're going to vault through the Ivy window and walk down blue stairs for free and not get shot by that guy. Plus, you just have Woos sitting in library with no one else supporting him. So there's no refrag onto the Azami. A whole lot of stuff going wrong for TookTheKids just on that upstairs clear. Just trying to take Chimney. So I mean, luckily for them, they won't have to worry about it in these next 2 rounds. They can just set their sights on other sites. He's going to be dining now for one shot, bringing the castle that we know one shot loves on this map. And hopefully TookTheKids top clear for their sake is a lot better, a lot more put together than it was last round.
Well, still having Trist on the sledge can definitely help alleviate some of those problems, at least when you have to deal with the castles, being able to one-hit those panels and still opening up some of those key lines of sight as well. Wondering how many magnets we might see placed around some of these key panels as well. Maybe that one over near, for example, the single doorway between both piano room and master bedroom. That's a pretty important one to have, because if you have someone stacked up on that master window, he can hold a complete cutoff, hence why the castle barricade is there to try to stop him. So with there being somewhat of a lack of utility there, potentially, depending on who's playing in that position, that could maybe be a point of interest for TTK. But so far, they want to just clear out through library first and foremost. One shot still acknowledging that being a pretty common spot to clear out too. They're still going to hold up near top mezzanine just to try to slow TTK down.
Gavin on the Nook, getting sneaky, already up blue stairs, looking to take the fight, and Piano catches the Azami, reloading with a Kiba out. And Razor goes down early, not having nearly as much impact as we are used to seeing from him, just 4 and 8. And Gavin makes a very swift play into the building that nets one of the most important operators on the defense.
Well, at least that one key barrier was still deployed, so that could maybe help out NVK just slightly on this top floor. Same thing applies for, Kilo and Swalen. If NVK can survive over near Piano, their jobs are a lot easier to accomplish here. Gavini, once again, just changing positions and now trying to attack from this basement floor. This could be a huge power play, especially if one shot are still tunnel visioned on this top floor presence, still in effect by TTK.
Gavin's still lurking too, looking to come up from another angle, probably bottom west main, I would have to imagine. And Prod, the only man on site. If they get this wall open, we're going to need to see some fallback happen from the defense, because I don't know if they have enough vertical coverage. I mean, they have a castle and the mute smoke has an FMG9, so They should have some angles open up, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to stop a full execute through that breach. Packer, in the meantime, is just prone watching the drone hole, cooking a nade. This could be a freebie on the Kilo, and it is! Two-man lead now for TookTheKids. Finka Boost comes in, and we're going to see now the Nook start to make her presence known. Nades up towards the ceiling, make sure no one's watching the angle. NVK, who tried to get the swing, is killed by Packer before he's traded out by Prod. Looking for another, but slammed by Mr. B walking through the breach, and TookTheKids' timing is perfect. It's excellent. They can do no wrong. Mr. B's getting the plant down. There is nothing set up for Swaylin. Not enough vertical coverage has been established, and now he's in a 1 versus 4 post plant. He's got all 3 gas canisters. Makes you wonder why he wasn't downstairs playing on the site. Beautiful shot right there onto Gavin, but it's not going to matter. Woos finishes him off, and TTK put themselves on match point.
A dominant entry once again by Gavin, catching Razor completely off guard. And TTK, well, besides, taking their time to move down a floor lower, they really didn't slow down all that much. And the info game that we saw the Desk talk about at the very beginning of this matchup, it really shined in through for TTK. They still had info on players up above. They still had information on players that were stacked up inside of Trophy, allowing Gavin and Packer to do their job swimmingly. Connecting that grenade kill, making that 5-on-3, weakening that vertical presence up above, and allowing Gavin to walk up into West Main very safely. That was fantastic coordination by TTK altogether, despite the fact that it did take a lot of seconds to prepare all of that in tandem, and also the fact that they did fail a little bit at getting that back wall completely opened up to actually enter the site from that direction. But a small readjustment of just walking to the side hallway and entering the site from that direction, it worked like a charm for TTK, and like you mentioned, they're now on match point against One Shot.
6-3 as well. Again, they extend that lead to a perfect site rotation's worth. And I got baited. I thought they were going to go garage, so I wrote down garage. And they switch back to dining. They want to go ahead and retry that site. And, I mean, TookTheKids, what I love about that attack is that not only did they have those early picks with the Nook play was really inspired. Packer covering Trophy as well. They had enough manpower to spread their forces and ignore the top floor hold completely. They didn't care about it. The only attention we saw turn to the top floor hold was that first pick from the Nook and the nade through the window, and that was it. They didn't even open the office wall. They did not care. And One Shot got destroyed because Prod was the only guy on site. So hopefully, I'm hoping this time One Shot sits someone else down there with him. Maybe Swaylin, because I doubt TookTheKids are going to change that formula. I doubt they're going to full press this top floor. So put your smoke somewhere else. Unless I'm wrong, because they're all rappelling up.
That potential false sense of security might have been able to grant TTK a lot more than what One Shot had probably expected. Razor trying to take the initiative once again, even having the hatch prepped open, so in case too much pressure is put towards him, he can fall back. There was somebody holding the cutoff near bar double window, but they didn't have it opened up in advance, so Razor is able to get away with only a small tag towards his side, and he can just fall back into the basement floor, break a couple of drones. Not a bad position altogether, and now Razor, he can, if he wants to, go all the way back up to that top floor and still be a nuisance when we get a little bit deeper in this round once TTK get more map control in their back pocket.
To be able to get away, smart use of that impact to destroy the bar stock wall, not expose himself to the main doorway. But in the meantime, Gavin has made his entry through said main doorway again as that Nook really early into the building. Who's kind of baiting out the shots with the Iana clone, getting info. Kilo, the first to take just a bit of damage, and now TookTheKids will in fact open up that office wall before Mr. B rotates downwards. Sees that there's a jammer behind the dining wall, so he's going to need some help getting that open. Gavin departing from his team, heading down into the basement. You're going to go on the hunt, maybe again come up West Main like we saw in the previous round.
Well, just trying to watch that flank as of now. Again, we can see that importance, especially when you don't have someone like that Nomad or that Zero available in your round altogether. TTK still trying to struggle to not only get this back wall opened up, but also clear out this top floor. No nades have connected onto this mute jammer, so for right now, TTK, they're at a standstill, but that one frag should be able to get both of them, and now they could try to get these Selmas deployed, but the impact, I believe it just barely missed. The wall still gets opened up for TTK. That's massive for this final minute push.
Especially with the kill on a Swaylin. Again, Smoke dead so early. I mean, he was alive last round, but didn't use his gas canister. So basically the same thing here. Packer walks in, doesn't know about NVK and dies. But Woos gets that refrag onto Prod. Again, the only guy in sight. NVK the next to fall thanks to Trist, who I believe is upstairs on that flank watch. Wow! Oof. That was... Oh my god, that was incredible. C4 to follow up, but Woos snipes it out of the air. That was the equalizer right there. And Woos denies it. Kilo, another beautiful shot. He is stepping up right now, looking for another one onto Woos, and I would be terrified to peek if I were him. Kilo on for 3, the only force stopping TookTheKids from winning this map right here, right now. Razor locks it out. Kilo goes huge for 3 and keeps one shot alive.
Kilo with the play of the game in that position perfectly on the first floor, able to connect several long-range shots with that SMG-11, but when you are at such a disadvantage, I mean, really, what can you do? One shot probably expecting someone in that 4v2 to retake the top floor to make sure NVK could not apply any vertical damage. Kilo had to be on the aggression there. He had to make sure no one get into sight to try to get that defuser down, and he did a perfect job of that, stopping 2 different people from the main breach and another person working their way, that being Woos, over from the side door, entering in through dining, despite the fact that Woos landed a fantastic tracer shot onto that nitro cell. Kilo, he just needed the SMG-11 to finish doing God's work at that point. One shot still hold on for another round, but, you know, it's still match point for TTK at the end of the day here.
Those are 2 of the best shots I've ever seen with the SMG-11.
Yeah.
And
just clinical.
And he did it with a freaking reflex sight.
I mean, any sight's good in the right hands. I mean, bro, look at Red Dot with Asian.
That's almost as bad as, oh, who is it? I think it's, oh, I can't remember who it is, but they run Russian Red Dot on the Bearing 9. Ooh. Oh, Rice. Rice. That's almost as bad as Rice running Russian Red Dot on the Bearing 9. That looks disgusting, but he's nasty. So I guess I gotta give him the pass. So Kilo, completely saving the round for his team. That was all on his shoulders. You can't expect that every single round. So what do you do here on out if you're one shot?
I mean, probably trying to still establish that upward aggression. Razor hasn't been doing all that bad when he has full-fledged information that someone is trying to take the aggression on him. You know, we've seen him caught off guard a couple of times, but besides that, when he's able to, you know, waste time in general, you know, maybe work that entry kill, because he has been relatively decent on the entry game so far in this matchup, it goes a long way against TTK altogether. And right now, he's wasting countless seconds, even having backup by Prod as well. So this is a really good play being made by One Shot so far. And NVK almost finds an entry kill into Gavini, but he focuses on the drone first and then takes the safer option here and just falls back, now having backup by Kilo as well.
This is where TTK really struggled in the previous attempt of this site, was clearing Chimney, where Razor is playing. They took so much time and lost so many bodies just trying to get this one player out. Again, Gavin, not sure if there's someone playing on those blue stairs. Doesn't feel safe to push in just yet. And really, he's the only thing that's going to be able to stop Razor. Razor now, in fact, spots him, sends some shots his way, and eventually gets the kill. Another opening pick goes the way of Razor. Another onto Trist. Beautiful crosshair adjustment there from Razor. And TookTheKids, again, struggling mightily just to clear this Azami.
And Prod has already moved a floor lower as well. I believe Razor can still linger on. Nope, he has given up that position as well. But he already did his job. He wasted 2 minutes and
what?
2 separate players as well. Prod lighting up Mr. B. A 5v2 ensues, and TTK really don't have much to show for it.
Packer missing the floor holes on the Jaeger just below him, but he doesn't die to it. Instead, he gets a kill onto Kilo. Puts us into a 2 versus 4, which, you know, not as bad as a 2 versus 5, but still, very, very tough to work your way out of. I don't know why Mr. B was in the middle of the bomb site there. That was a bit odd, maybe a bit of a troll, because it'd be a 3 versus 4 now, if not for that. And Packer completely overexposes himself to that hatch with a nade in hand. I mean, that was just poor positioning through and through, leaving Woos alone, taking shots to the side from, I think that's NVK, coming up the stairs into dining from West Main. And not a whole lot he's going to be able to do with only 15 seconds left and only 1 health. This round's pretty much over. We're going to see max regulation, John. And this is where it gets scary. Because One Shot, so far, their last few defenses, at least the defenses they've won, have been tremendous, with the exception of Dining. But they don't have to play Dining anymore. They can go back to either Garage or go up to Master.
Altogether, though, Basement wasn't that strong of a site for One Shot. I feel like they overexposed themselves a bit too much to Packer, and once they had killed Mr. B, I guess they assumed no one would end up retaking that spot in Big Garage, but maybe having, the hindsight in this position, they could try to claw things back and get that overtime spot. I mean, it's probably still a better option altogether than going Master Bedroom. That's a very challenging site to hold, even when you do it, properly, having those extensions over near, Top Library, which we've seen One Shot hold that position countless times, and also near Dining Room too. It is still probably the safer option to go here on Basement, especially since you probably know how TTK are going to attack it. So it's really all for nothing right here for One Shot now. It's that 50-50 gamble.
And we'll have to see how it goes on Garage. Mr. B once again donning that ace. Trist on the Hibana this time. I just realized everyone on TookTheKids that's positive is only positive by 1. That's kind of funny. I wonder if, you think... Oh, no, that was
No, I
last
don't
game.
think.
That was last game. Dude, I was like, oh, you think Prod gets away with the impact trick again? And then I realized Thermite was banned, and the maps just blended together for me.
Noted.
That was
All right.
rough.
Well, we had Mr. B last time die to this spot, probably trying to break the keeper barrier that might have been on the drone hole, perhaps, and Prob was able to just shoot him because of that. But this time, can't even try to impact trick a full summon charge. Breaks a little bit off, but you still have that key line of sight and potentially an entryway as well. He still downs Mr. B. The key barrier does get destroyed, though, and a Vika boost gets popped to guarantee Mr. B can get back up in the 5 and still keep that 5-on-5, get back up in the fight. Pardon. So at least things are going a little bit better in comparison to what we saw last time this site was in play by One Shot.
I know damn well Swin was not about to peek that with a revolver. He looked like he really wanted to for a sec. Nade from below from Woos, looking to catch the roamer, but he's already long gone. It's the vigil of Razor that TTK are trying to nab with that explosive, but a lot of individual positioning right now for the attack, for the defense as well, but typically that's not what you want to see from an attacking team, especially on Basement. If you're clearing the roam, you got to be clearing together. And as Mr. B goes through, he's going to open up this wine wall, but there's a jammer. Unfortunately, the explosive catches the ace charge, and now Mr. B is out of utility. So well-placed impact there from whichever defender threw it. I didn't quite see. Nade misplaced on the wrong side of the shelf. And the Packer does not get his freebie, but Triss does get the opener, make it 2. He just blitzes into the site, takes full control. Razor, though, from up top, still has the hatch and makes sure that Trist doesn't get too out of control. Now thinking he's going to come under fire. He's got to get ready. He'll be able to take out Gavini, but not before Packer gets a kill of his own on the site. Lights up Woos through the wall, but takes a lot of damage of his own. A 2 versus 3. Could be a 1 versus 3 very soon if Razor gets just a bit over eager. He'll spot the cross from Woos, but eventually die, ignoring the hole to his right. Kilo's the only one left. He's got to go huge again, but tasked with covering too many angles at once. TTK shut it down. They actually win a game before overtime and take the full 3 points.
I honestly was beginning to doubt myself if TTK were able to win this round and actually stop themselves from going into overtime, but they just managed to off of a really good play by Triss. He had a standout game altogether, I'd have to admit here, Harrison, on Chalet against One Shot, but that round in particular, it really set their fate that they were going to win this one 7-5, just walking into sight.
How did he do?
Because they just, I don't know how he did it, but he noticed, you know what, this probably isn't the worst idea. Maybe I could find a kill or two and at least just make that space for his team. And you know what? Yeah. It made more than space. It made a whole round win for them all together. TTK, I mean, once they got, most of the site control, they went up above to make sure that Razor couldn't find any more damage, and they just cleaned it up so well.
Yeah, it was probably one of those, you know what, guys? I have an idea. Or hear me out. Hear me out. I got to play. And it ended
just
up
a second
working.
here.
Yeah, so I mean, big brain play from Trist gives them the win. TTK, a big 3 points, and that hands One Shot. Only their second loss of the season, but it does give TTK second place.
Yeah, I mean, they have been lights out a lot of matches now. They really have been proving their worth here towards the latter end of stage number 2. But I think you guys have heard enough of us here in this best one matchup. We'll throw it back to the desk to see what they have to say after that great performance altogether by TTK.
There's only one person to go to right now, and that has to be Tanner, because he saw what none of us saw, and that was a TTK victory.
I mean, TTK came out with a statement round the first 2 rounds. I mean, they dropped 11 kills before they dropped a single body. Razor were 3 opening deaths. Now, granted, one of them was a window bang. It was just completely pure luck. I'm sure Stephen pointed out. But they just came in. They looked so flawless on their defensive half. Mr. B with the big 1v2 clutch. And then on the attack half, they were just going nade crazy. They were blowing up everything, including themselves. Packer. But, man, they look so clean. They look so crisp. And it really just came down to, like, those first 2 rounds where One Shot were just slow at the gate, because One Shot played a good game after those 2 rounds, right? If we took those 2 rounds away, One Shot actually won more rounds, right? It would have been a 5-3 or a 5-5. So they were very competitive, but it wasn't enough. And you got to give credit to the resolve of Mr. B and his team to just come in here and put up this big game. They put up a ton of numbers, and now not only like Carter or not only like Crow was saying how they leapfrogged into second for the stage, but they also just leapfrogged into 4th place overall on the year. They are now a playoff contention team. For like if playoffs started today, they would be in playoffs, and that is huge. That's absolutely massive.
That is massive. And yeah, Connor, I want you to piggyback off of that point that if One Shot did not come out flat-footed, we had ourselves a game here. This could have been a One Shot victory had they basically just decided not to show up late.
Yeah, I mean, those first 2 rounds really were just an overall struggle. I mean, we saw probably the worst whiff I have ever witnessed in Challenger League. The absolute worst. And our replay op even caught it, put it in 4K, zoomed in just a little bit, put it in slow-mo, and we saw a 10-second gunfight. And Mr. B still managed.
That's not a
He's
high
blocking
five. This
you
is
out.
me.
He just doesn't want to see you. But
No, I'm coming.
But with Mr. B having the worst whiff ever and still being able to bounce back and lead his team to victory, a regulation victory against a team that we were thinking is untouchable, is absolutely amazing. The team looks great. Questionable roster moves in the offseason. We were critical of saying, hey, they dropped TPA and they dropped Tragical. Those are the 2 best players on their roster. They were hard carrying. And all of a sudden, the team looks even better with these unknown players coming in. I mean, who would have thought that Gavini and Packer were going to pop off so much?
I did.
Okay, we'll talk about it in a minute. We have a lot to talk about with TTK, but I got to talk to Mr. Biblical himself, Mr. Bill Dipperly, because TTK is just on another level right now. Mr. B, what can TookTheKids not do? So first off, I got to talk about the standings. You guys now have moved your way into playoff contention. Was that something that you were thinking about going into this, or am I just kind of breaking the news to you now?
I knew about it, but I wasn't worried about it. I knew we were going to make playoffs eventually, one way or another.
And I also have to ask about Chalet. We have not seen you guys go there. Is this just, did you guys know you were that good there, or was this kind of
we knew, we just hadn't played it yet.
Yeah.
I think a lot of teams don't like Chalet, right? One Shot does. They were happy to take us on it. Yeah, it was a good game. We're happy to be there, you know, and we're glad to beat One Shot because, you know, first place now.
And
after beating all turns.
I think we've got you into second at the moment in this current standings. Yeah. The other thing too, and our analysts were talking about this. We know that you guys are good. We know you guys can play well, but it's just the overall. You guys have seemed really polished lately. Is that something that you've noticed with your team in practices and games?
Yeah, well, we work harder, we're better, and we want it more. So,
okay, so
I would hope we'd be more polished.
Now it's just Mr. Better. Is that the B word team. We're going with now? Yeah,
whole team's better.
Everyone's better.
No, it's I think most of these other teams, they don't have quite the right recipe, right? For success, right? You look at some teams like Gaming Gladiators on paper, amazing roster. They should be top of CL. But you realize they have 5 flex players, who's droning, who's, going in for and entering, It's like, we've got 5 players, everyone knows what they're doing, everyone does the right stuff, right? And it works beautifully.
Okay, well,
perfect cake.
What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a pin in this right now because, I mean, in all likelihood, I'll be talking to you in another hour or so. So I'll say
Absolutely.
good luck, and yeah, we'll talk soon.
All right, have a good one.
Have a good one. Okay, so Tanner, I'm still gonna put a pin in it for you as well right now, because as I said, we're gonna go to a break. We're gonna come back, and all we're gonna do is freaking. Ooh, I almost pulled a forceful there. Talk about TTK
That's a
all
low
over
blow.
again. So quick break. When we come back, they're gonna have their hands full with Nocturnes.